you guys. But yeah. So I really feel like, just right there, my kid's already got a bigger heads up than I did. You know, he's got the bigger, he's got a bigger thing that can help him out than I did, and right there is enough. Enough for me to go. Well, that's good because you need it. You need that guidance, man. You really do, especially boys. And that's not a sexist thing. That's just an observation of my own. Is that boys, need a man to guide them and help them out a little bit. I did and I still do have an issue with authority to a certain degree. Not in a bad way. I don't hate cops or anything. I just I look at authority differently than probably I should. And a lot of that's because of just the way I was raised. I'm kind of saying, it's I don't want my boy to go through that same BS as I did. So hopefully I can give him some advice that he takes, and hopefully he takes it and is constructive. But also, I'm not the best person to give it. All I can do is tell him where I effed up, and hopefully he can make the right decision. That's all I can do. And I hope that's enough. I sure do. Because he deserves it. He deserves to have a decent shot at it, And hopefully he will. That's why I'm gonna encourage the football thing, even though I'm hesitant because I don't want to see him get hurt. But like I said, you gotta let them do something once in a while. And if he's on the football team, he won't be raising hell in the woods or something like I was. Like I said, when I think back to a lot of the dumb shit I was doing that I wouldn't have been doing if I had an involved parent to a degree. You can over-involve too and knock the ball in the wrong direction that way. So you really gotta watch it. You really gotta watch it, people. Because nobody knows what's gonna happen. Okay, I'm gonna go on here. Kind of make this like a kind of grounded sort of. I was watching something the other day. It was that new Dread movie. I was gonna borrow it off a buddy and he didn't have it, so I got it on the line. And yeah, it makes you wonder, is what the future is gonna be like? Just a bunch of people stuck in freaking mega blocks and mega cities, and doing crazy stuff. Never know, I guess. Stuck in the mega city and the mega block and the mega tower, and we're gonna make some rock looking wall here to kind of differentiate from all the jagged lines and stuff. But yeah, it was making me wonder, man, that's probably what the world's gonna be like. I wish it would be like Star Trek, but it's probably gonna be like Dread, where the people that have it best are the criminals, and the cops can only respond to 8% or whatever it was of the shit going on. And in the meantime, it's just a complete madhouse. Makes it look like freaking Mexico City, and just the most violent places in the world altogether. It's just craziness. It's just craziness, So we're gonna put all these boulders in here, make it look kind of bouldery. Yep, Mega City 1, 200-story mega blocks. with, you know, 100,000-ish people per block. People get recycled and turned into freaking food after they're mowed down by, you know, a criminal or a hot round from a cop shooting at everything. I don't know. Crazy talk. But yeah, Mega City 1, you know, is that what it's gonna be like? That would be freaky. That would be freaky. Kind of cool though too, in a way, in a weird dystopic way. Be kind of weird. I don't know how good it would be, but it would definitely be kind of weird. So we're gonna put some kind of medieval looking thing here. You know, that's the one thing I hated when I got my bachelor's degree in art and design with a concentration in illustration. Was, like I said, we had to take a bunch of years of bullshit. You know, it's not always just drawing and stuff. Take a lot of years of just stupid crap. Art history. I have a book over there that's about this thick. Some of it's interesting, a lot of it isn't. Like, a lot of these artists became famous and they never knew it. That's like me talking to you right now and say I gain minor success in my life, right? I draw every day. I draw something like this pretty much every day. And I just finally decided to start putting it on YouTube. But, you know, for all I know, X amount of years from now, they're going to be cleaning out my freaking trailer because my neighbor said it smells funny. And they come in there and they find my 70 years of artwork and they go, wow, this stuff's pretty cool. And then, you know, and then I'm in an art history book because I'm a famous illustrator or some shit 50 years from now because everybody's a computer artist and I'm the last freaking art, you know? And in the meantime, I never enjoyed any of it. I lived off of ramen noodles until I died in my trailer and they came to get me out of there. So it's like, so many artists lived like that, you know? Van Gogh was like that. Several other artists were like that, where, you know, they didn't know any kind of real success in their time. They died, and people liked their stuff afterwards. And, yeah, and then now they're immortalized, and it's like, that's not what I want. I don't give a damn about being in an art history book. I want to make some, you know, make a living at this so I can pay off my student loans and spoil my kid. That's why. And, you know, have some money for the future. You know, like anybody that wants to get in the art history book they can go get in it, man. I ain't trying to do that. I'm just trying to make it. That's all. But I'm sure there's people out there that would rather be in the art history book. And I'm just not one of them, that's all. I'm gonna start making these rocks here look like they're hanging out with each other here. But yeah, it's like, you know, that's the last thing I want is to be, you know, known after the fact when I'm freaking dead and gone. And my kid can't benefit off of it, you know. That's what I want. I want to be able to make some money in my life and yeah, sure, if I made it in an art history book, that'd be great, but you know, I got this feeling like I'm making my graphic novel right now and I'm not asking the computer for any help. I don't do any of the computer stuff. Everything I do is like this. It's all by hand. And I'm sure there's ways a computer could, you know, fasten up the, you know, make it a lot quicker, but I'm just not interested in that. I feel like a certain amount, don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of hardworking computer artists out there, but I feel like a certain amount of soul goes with it when you start just doing stuff like, hey, don't make the rocks like that, just here, You know, it's like, well, that didn't do anything. To me, at least. That's how I feel. That's how I feel about it. But, so that's going to be, you know, one of the parts of my book is the fact that it's hand-drawn, you know? And it's like the more they make computer stuff, the more I want to hand-draw stuff, you know? There's a certain humanity that's in it, you know, when you draw it yourself. Obviously, you know, compared to having a computer do it, you know. I feel like anybody can learn how to use Photoshop and be a good artist. That's just really what it boils down to. Anybody can do that. Just like anybody could publish a book on Amazon, which is the reason why I haven't published my book on Amazon, my other book, you know. When you see what you're up against in there, you're up against every other asshole that's published a book on Amazon, and there's literally millions. So it's like, when I wanted to publish my coloring book, it was, you know, just going to be buried in the Amazon catalog with literally, like, I think with my particular genre, it was like 700,000 books. You're never going to find me in there. And then, you know, when I did have it in there, it was on page, you know, 97,612. It's like, you're never gonna find that, dude. You're gonna flip around, you're gonna look at the first couple, 20 pages maybe, you're gonna see a book that, you know, is pretty much what you wanted, even if it's not exactly what you wanted, and then you're just gonna buy that book. You know? And, good for that person, but you know, it's like if you go on Amazon and you look up adult coloring books, it's just going to bring you to those Secret Garden books and a bunch of Marvel bullshit. That's the other thing too. It's just like, you know, it's hard for any like of these small artists to do anything because you got all these huge IPs. You know, like I don't know when everybody decided that these big thoughtless IPs were where it's at. I don't know, because I just don't think that, man. I'm all about original stuff. I get that there's money involved and people don't want to take a chance, but look at the state of movies these days. Nobody wants to watch them. They're all pissed out. You know, even the superhero movies are flopping like pancakes. And it's like, people want something new, you know. Yes, Marvel did good because when it came out, it was something new. You know, it was something different. But, you know, them days are over, bruh. It's time. There's a reason that K-pop Demon Dragon Slayer thing just destroyed everything at the theater. Because it's new. Or newish, newer. You know, it's not the same old bullshit. Iron Man, Iron Woman, you know, fucking Black Panther, Captain America. Like, how many of these movies can you shit out before people are like, okay. And it's spilled to like every other, you know, franchise. If it's a franchise, then people flock to it because it's familiar, and I understand that. People don't want to waste their money on crap, you know, that they don't know about. And, yeah, I get that. As much as I don't want to get it, I get it. But at the same time, you know, you gotta be willing to do something new. You know, it's like people in relationships, you know. I never understood cheating except for one thing, that people want something different. Because they're tired of the familiar. Is it right? No, hell no, of course not. But people do it, and that's really what it boils down to. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. So I know this is kind of a tedious part, making these rocks, but as you see, it turns out pretty cool looking. You know, like a bunch of rocks are just kind of slopped on each other. Yep. New stuff. That's what they need. Some new IPs, man. People out there But then that's what happens, you know, they get a new IP and then they piss that out real quick, making stuff, you know, and then people get tired of that all of a sudden. So yeah, I get it. Crazy world. When art turned corporate, that's when it was all over. And it's gonna take time, but it's gonna come back. People are gonna go back to, you know, different kinds of things, different kinds of IPs, and different kinds of just new stuff. You know, people are gonna be, they're just tired of the old shit, man. They want something new. So hopefully when I'm done with my graphic novel, probably about, at the rate I'm going, I'm almost done with the rough draft of it, which is hard because that's designing the whole thing and designing, you know, everything really, and almost done with that. When I'm done with that, I can start on the final draft, and that'll be my project over the winter, and the world doesn't blow up, or AI doesn't take over, or Russia and China don't bomb us, or, you know, something doesn't happen in politics that destroy, you know, if one of many different things doesn't happen, then I can throw my book out to the world, and we'll see what people think, you know, and people, you know, what about putting it online, and yada yada, and it's like, well, okay, I like books, alright? I'm making it to be a book because I like books. Books are cool. I like the tactile feeling of a book, you know? A book in my hand, and, you know, the digital shit, like the power went out the other day, all that digital stuff doesn't mean anything. You know what I was doing? I was reading a book. That's what I ended up doing when the power was out the other day. For the whole freaking day. First time it snowed. What the hell? But yeah, I read a book. I was reading a book. There's a lot of books I'd like to read. I'm kind of hyper and I got ADD and whatever, and it's hard for me to sit down and read a book. It's got to have a lot of pictures. And yeah, it's got to have a lot of pictures.